What is going on, YouTube people? New York Cards and Comics here today for another edition of the weekly sports card market update. Did the 1 year look back last week. Today, back to normal, talking about the news, the movements, all the nonsense from the past week in the wonderful world of sports cards. Sometimes we throw in non-sports cards, but this is typically a sports card focused show. That being said, kind of a quiet week this week. The two biggest stories are not like necessarily drama filled or anything crazy like that. Drama wise, it was fairly quiet. I guess I should say from that perspective, it's been quiet. In regards to the hobby in general, it's been a pretty busy week just due to we've had Prizm football fully release and the whole Bowman Sapphire craziness this week as well. So big new releases and then all the pomp and circumstance that goes along with that. I ripped a little bit of Prizm retail that I threw up on the channel yesterday. I have a couple mega boxes coming. Those went up on Target, so I grabbed a handful of those. Not sure when those are going to be in yet, so I'll probably open at least, I don't know, maybe one or two of those as well, and we'll put that video up at some point in time. And then beyond that, I am personally probably done messing around with Prizm from a sealed perspective. Anyways, I may end up stashing one of those. One of the things I say this, I don't know if it's gonna last or not. I guess I'm gonna speak this into the ether to kind of hold myself accountable to this. As many of you may or may not know, since the start of the channel, right before Christmas, I usually open something specifically for Christmas. I'll go out, buy a box, and open it specifically for Christmas. This started way back in the day with an NBA Hoops Premium. That was back when I didn't really rip a lot of wax. I rip more now than I actually did in the past. This past year, we did the live where I ripped some stuff and then ended up ripping a few other things. And then, you get kind of caught up in the moment and you're just looking for stuff to open. So what I'm going to try to do, and I need you all to hold me accountable, I'm going to try to stash stuff throughout the year. So, like, I'll give you an example. I bought those Prizm Blasters. I set one to the side. I have these Prizm Megas coming. I'm going to set one to the side. A Bowman Sapphire box releases that I can actually purchase. I'm going to set one to the side. And I'm going to stash all that stuff until the end of the year and then rip it all at once as a little pre-Christmas gift to myself. That's the plan. We'll see what happens as we move throughout the year on that one. Like I said, I just needed to speak that into existence. Before we go too deep, today's video is powered and sponsored by our good old friends over at COMC, as they are the official sponsor of all the weekly sports card market updates. I just picked up a few more cards on COMC. They are being shipped home now. I picked up a couple JOK from the Browns, the linebacker, some Contenders auto cards. I've been wanting to pick up some stuff up of him. I don't know that I'm going full PC on him or anything crazy, but I like watching him play, and his cards are dirt cheap. I got Contenders Optic autos raw for they were like $15. I'm sorry, just base. I think they were base Contenders, not Optic. But regardless, I got Contenders autos for like $10 or $15. So I had a couple of those shipped home for the playoff run, and I picked up another really cool Spider-Gwen card. I have another shipment of stuff going out to them. The video for that should be up sometime this week. From a lot of that from that wax that I ripped over the Christmas break. A lot of that Sapphire stuff. I'm sending a bunch of that stuff off to them as well. So if you're not using COMC, go check it out. Good deals to be had. And if you're not buying, you could always use it to sell on that platform. First kind of topic of the week. I have I don't know the best way to word this, I guess, editorial correction to make. I have, which, my bad. I guess I was wrong on this one. I'm going to be very curious in the comments down below. How many of you all thought that Tag Grading was an AI grading company? How many of you all thought Tag used AI to grade cards? I thought that. I've said it in a billion videos. I've said it on a bunch of other places. I was wrong. Tag does not use AI to grade cards. This is directly from the Tag Discord. I made a comment, and this is a comment that I've made on videos. This is not a new take by me. My comment was, I will forever be skeptic of a company that touts AI grading, but it can't process cards fast enough because humans have to QA all of them. And I forget what the rest of the comment was, but the gist of it was that. And this kind of all goes back to the whole 1,000-point tag grading scale where, they have to put so much QA time on it that it's not feasible for them to run at max capacity. So they had to roll out the 10-point grading scale. Well, Tag responded back. You can see it on the screen there. They are constantly correcting people on this. Tag is an automated grading system. The term AI is often used erroneously by companies for buzz marketing purposes. And then you can see they go into the rest of it. So my fault. Tag is not AI grading. It is automated grading, machine grading. So like I said at the top, curious, did I have my head in the sand on this one, or did most of you all believe that Tag was AI grading as well? Like I said, maybe I just missed the memo on this one, and this is completely my fault. I've never really been called on this before, but is what it is. Like I said, my mistake on that one. Mentioned it earlier. Bowman Sapphire came up this week. I thought I was going to be cute and grab some boxes. I had plans already. I'm like, okay, they're probably going to allow you to get like 3 or 4. I usually only get 2 or 3. I'm going to get 4. I'm going to stash one for the end of the year rip. I'll stash one just to hold back. And then maybe I'll open 1 or 2 in a video. This is going to be great. Brady's not in the checklist. The format looks really good. Cool. 12 o'clock rolls around. I was like 2 minutes late logging on to the website, and that's all she wrote. These things sold out instantly. $350 a box, I believe they were, and poof, gone before you even knew they existed. Now, to be fair, that is way more expensive than last year. I think last year's Bowman Draft Sapphire boxes were like $200 a box, but the format is different. It is 1 guaranteed auto per box and 3 parallel cards per box. That is a tremendous opening experience. Say what you will about Topps and Fanatics. This is one of the things that, I personally was asking for. Hey, can you give us a product that is shorter printed and has a decent chance of pulling something cool or fun? That's what they did. Unfortunately, it sold out before I could even buy any. If you all managed to get some, let me know in the comments down below. If you got wiped out, let me know as well. I know very few people that successfully got boxes of this. I don't mind the format. I also, as much as I don't want to say I don't mind the increased pricing, I kind of understand it because of the guaranteed auto. And then, like I said, 3 parallels per box. This is a really good format. These are probably going to be very fun rips. Sapphire, I really, really like opening Sapphire. I think it is my favorite format among all the, even Bowman University. I don't know anything about college football. They're just good experiences to open up. With the autograph chase in there, whether it's guaranteed or more random, the numbered parallels, even the base cards hold some value because they're shorter printed. And this feels like this is going to be a very, very in-demand product. You can see boxes are basically reselling for about $575, $550, $580 in that general range. So people are doing pretty nice on the quick flip on this. You see a case on there for $6,200. I think cases were going for like $3,500, $3,300. You got a little bit of a discount on a case from what I remember. And very, very popular product. Sad that I missed it. I would have loved to open some of these on the channel, but I am not paying the inflated secondary market prices on those bad boys. Like I said, also at the top, Prizm release week. Prizm Hobby is in full go mode. People are ripping it left and right. Breaks are going on crazy left and right. In my opinion, this is ridiculously overpriced. If you can find some retail, have at. You want to buy a couple boxes, buy a blaster, buy a mega. You can grab it at the Walmart or the Target or whatever. I'll be curious to see if this stuff sits on shelves. I doubt that it will because it's Prizm. People are probably going to go nuts for it. I did not look to see if blasters and megas have a markup yet. It's too soon to say because they have not hit store shelves. So if they, even if it shows that they're being marked up, we don't really know because we don't have a full inventory picture yet. So maybe we'll look at that in like a week or two. But Prizm Hobby just seems the most ridiculously out of whack priced product ever. SCN, Sports Card Nonsense, they did a nice breakdown of this on their latest podcast, and I agree with a lot of what they were saying in regards to the pricing of this and just how crazy people go for this. We'll look at some single prices here in a minute. Obviously, the high end stuff is selling very, very well. I need to sit down. I watched some first off the line breaks about a week ago. Last weekend, I watched some first off the line breaks, and people were just getting smoked left and right. The checklist is massive. It is loaded down with vets. The auto checklist is terrible. Now, that's not normally what you chase Prizm for. You're going more for the color blast, the mangas, the low numbered parallels, that sort of stuff. But even that, it is just rough times in the streets on these. I'd like to sit down and watch some full case breaks and kind of maybe chart it in an Excel spreadsheet or something just to kind of get a better feel for it. But 800 and some bucks for a hobby box is a big no thank you for me. I would much rather, if you could have got them at retail, I would honestly, you have a much better shot and probably a much more fun experience ripping 2 boxes of Bowman Sapphire. If you could have got it at retail, that would have been probably about 800 bucks with shipping and tax for 2 of them. And I feel like that would be a way better experience than an $850 Prizm Hobby box where you are most likely going to get absolutely torched. In regards to Prizm Hobby, where does this currently rank in the old sales list? 2017 is obviously number 1. That's actually the first box that I've seen sell in a long time. That one went off for 5.5K right before the end of the year. We have 2020 Prizm Hobby doing just under 2K, and then we have 2023 Prizm Hobby sitting right there at 850, just above 2022, and also just above 2021. You can see 21, 22, and now 23 kind of all going for around that $800 mark, with 2020 getting a little bit of a premium. 2018 actually going for around that same price as well. Now, one of those is not sold for a couple weeks. 2018, you see that down there towards the bottom at 760 right here. I would imagine if one of those went off today, it might go a little bit higher. Lamar Jackson stuff has really picked up steam the last few weeks, so that might give that box a little bit of a bump. Those also do not sell too terribly often. This is, I'm looking at 1 year's worth of data here, and only 40 of those have sold in the last year. 2019, 42 have sold. Those only go for 300 and some bucks. A very weak draft class there. Let's look at some single prices. For the purposes of this, I don't necessarily care how much they're selling for because these prices are going to swing as more supply hits the market. I am more curious of kind of the hierarchy, the rank, kind of how these are falling in line, the groupings of the pricing clusters. So, and this is silvers raw. CJ Stroud off the top at 400 bucks. Not surprising. He's going to be the leader in the clubhouse for a while. Below that, and kind of grouped together, well, kind of by himself, we have Bryce Young. And then we have a little cluster of Puka and Anthony Richardson. I'm surprised to see Puka that high. He's a fantastic player. He had a great year. I don't know. That just feels high for him. Anthony, especially selling for the same price as Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson at 115. Then we kind of have another little cluster of Will Levis and Bijan Robinson. That seems exceptionally high for Bijan Robinson. There'd be no way in hell I'd be paying between 50 and 75 bucks. Now, once again, prices will settle in, but Falcons are a mess. Then it drops down to Zay Flowers, Jahmyr Gibbs, Hendon Hooker, Sam Laporta, Jordan Addison, Jaden Reed, JSN, Aiden O'Connell, Dalton Kincaid, so on and so forth. Devon A-Chain, Tank Dell. Actually, out of all these, for being this far down on the list, Tank Dell's a little interesting being injured. He had a really good year, teamed up with Stroud. But that's kind of your breakdown. So it is ridiculously hard to hit a Silver Prizm rookie of someone halfway decent. And prices of this stuff is most likely going to come down. Now, maybe Stroud, a little bit of a different story. We'll see. I am recording this prior to their game on Saturday. I'm actually recording this right before the games start on Saturday. So I don't know what's going to happen in those. If Stroud ends up getting into the playoffs and maybe wins a game or has some crazy games or whatever, maybe his prices don't dip. With the exception of him, everyone else on this list, you are probably going to see retrace as we kind of move throughout the beginning of the playoffs and into deeper into the playoffs as more and more supply hits the market. Like I said, Stroud could be the one exception because if he's live in the playoffs, that's a little bit of a different story. I don't know that we've ever had Prizm. It's an interesting timing release on this because Stroud stuff is hitting right as he's potentially going into the playoffs. And that could make for some wonky price movements on his stuff that we don't typically see around stuff like this. Continuing on football as we kind of dive deeper and deeper into market movers, link in the description down below if you want your version of charts and graphs. Quarterback index over the last 30 days has kind of flatlined as most of the corrections have kind of happened. The one exception to that is 2018, as you see that on the move up, and that is all Lamar Jackson based. Lamar has been the talk of the town the last couple weeks, and his prices are moving up. This is his 2018 Optic Hollow and his 2018 Field Level Silver, both in PSA 10s. Over the last 180 days, that takes us back to the summer. You can see up 50% and up 27%. But if you look at that from summer throughout most of the season, they kind of just floated around in the middle. They didn't really do much up or down. But if you look here, since basically the middle of December, they have really, really shot up. Now, we'll see what happens. He's not playing this week, obviously, as we kind of move into the playoffs here. Their positioning is all locked up. They have the bye, and they very well could end up playing Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns in their first playoff game. We'll see how the scheduling and the matchups and all that stuff shake up. But Lamar's going to have a little bit of time here to just kind of simmer, as nothing's really going to be happening this week and next week. So we'll see if his prices pull back a little bit or if people are running to kind of buy into him. I don't want to say too much on Lamar because I don't want to jinx or curse myself as the Browns are potentially going to play him. I will just say I don't like the idea of taking week 18 off and then having the bye and then having to come out and play whatever team is rolling in there to face you that may or may not have momentum going for them. And then I will leave it at that and move on very quickly. The Browns don't need any extra curses. Let's move over, talk a little NBA. We had a trade this week. OG from the Raptors heads on over to the Knicks. RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley head on over to the Raptors. I was actually a little surprised by the pricing moves on this. Quickly got the biggest bump up, 110% increase. RJ Barrett got a little bit of a bump up. He heads back home to Canada. And OG actually went down slightly. I mean, he wasn't that expensive to begin with. That just could be a random one-off sale. But basically no movement on OG. $50, stays at about $50. He's not a star player or anything like that. I just assumed going to the Knicks, he'd get a little bit of a bump up. Just a few people running out to buy. But guess not. I don't know. I guess people are still caught fully up in NFL mode here as we kind of enter into the playoffs. I wanted to take a quick peek into just the overall NBA market and just look at some of the trending names up and down throughout the beginning of the season here. I ran this back to the beginning of October, so that basically takes us right before the season starts. One of your biggest gainers, I shouldn't say your biggest, one of your biggest gainers, Tyrese Halliburton, up 50%, no surprise there. Ja Morant continues to play really, really well, coming back from his suspension. His stuff is up 35% from the beginning of the season. SGA, I am surprised, is not up more, 32% increase. The Thunder are legitimately really, really good. SGA is probably on a short list for MVP. I'm not saying he's better than Joker or Embiid. They may have a more likely shot to win it, but he is definitely in the top 5 and has a real chance at it. Tyrese Maxey continues to play pretty well. He's up 36%. Luka, having a great season, is flat, down 7%, basically still sitting at around that 1.2K mark. He has been there since basically most of the summer. His prices just have not moved that much at all. The problem with Luka is the team, not the player. He's really, really good. The Mavericks just have a cap, I think, on how far they could go. Having Kyrie as your second star has its own whole host of problems, as he is hurt very, very often. And then just kind of wanted to check in on Zion very quickly. His stuff is down 36% since the beginning of the year. Pelicans actually been playing pretty good. Zion's actually been completely healthy for the most part. He's just having a whatever season. He's perfectly fine. He looked really bad in the in-season tournament, obviously, but just not doing anything spectacular. Probably looks a little out of shape. And just not giving us any crazy highlight reel plays like Ja is. So we have seen those two once again separate apart, even with Ja having the off-the-court issues over the summer. His stuff is doing much, much better than Zion's. That if you bought the dip on Ja, you're actually probably doing pretty good. Now, if you held throughout, you're probably down quite a bit still. But if you bought the dip over the summer and into the early part of the fall, you're probably doing pretty all right on that. Last but not least, let's talk a little baseball. I was just kind of curious to see how the kids are moving, if you will. I am not a baseball prospect guy by any means, but I was a little curious on how the next hype generation was doing so far this offseason. These are, I believe, all PS. There's one PSA 9, a couple PSA 9s in here, just because of sales volume. But Bowman Prospect autos, just base, non-refractors, in various PSA grades. We'll run through them. These are over the last 90 days, which takes us back to right at the beginning of October. Jackson Chourio up 30%. Jackson Holiday up 21%. Those are the two getting the most steam. The Chourio's in a PSA 10. The Holiday's in a PSA 9. There hadn't been a 10 sold recently. Those guys are seeing a lot of pump, hype, whatever you want to call it. Below that, we have Marcel Mayer. His stuff's been flat. Junior Caminero, his stuff's been flat. Little surprised by that one, and he's getting a little bit hypey. Evan Carter, his stuff's up ever so slightly. And James Wood, that's in a PSA 9. I should note that James Wood, his is basically flat. So Holiday and Chourio are the two that have gotten the most movement so far. The other guys haven't yet. So if you're a believer in one of those players or some other prospect, you may still have time to jump in before the spring training hype fest starts. Any one of these guys, either on this list or not on this list, if they come out spring training hot, we all know what's going to happen. Their card prices are going to go way up. We've seen it time after time after time. Some young kid gets a couple home runs in a row in a week of spring training off some high school pitcher, and then next thing you know, their card prices are doubling in value. Or one of these guys will get signed to a long-term agreement, or someone will make a team that they weren't necessarily everyone was thinking they were going to, and prices will jump way up. So that's all I got for you boys and girls today. Keeping things kind of short and tight this week. Enjoy week 18 of the NFL season, and then next week the real fun begins with the NFL playoffs starting in full swing. And we are wacko for Flacco around here, folks. Catch you boys and girls on the next one. Peace.